Hi everyone, I'm Ken from CryptoTradingKS. If you're new, welcome, and welcome back KS family. Let's run the numbers. What we're going to do in this particular episode is look more broadly across the globe. We need to gain a bit of a perspective as to what is happening inside markets. This is all about the scientific process the crypto technical analysts apply to tracking investor attention. Right now, we're in stage 2. We need to check outside trends. We know the crypto is a really tiny market, and stocks and bonds are very large markets. Even though crypto is just at the start, it's literally a baby. It's growing really quickly, but the concept is it's so small. Many people inside the crypto market don't think that the main markets have got much to do with anything when it comes to crypto. What you see here is the Nasdaq 100, this green line. We can see when the Nasdaq basically goes up, Bitcoin is going up. When the Nasdaq is coming down, Bitcoin is coming down. They're phasing in with each other at the moment. And we saw a big bounce up on the Nasdaq. We've seen an even bigger one on Bitcoin. So that is why we need to look at the US markets. So what do we actually see here? Inside the US market, there's an enormous amount of fear entering, and it's not slowing down. It's keeping on increasing. Does this mean that investors are getting worried about things? We can see that the Nasdaq 100 came up to a resistance level, hit that resistance, and has bounced back again. What do we see with bond prices? This is a flight to safety. They're starting to go up the wall. What about yields? They're starting to collapse. And we know that bond prices and bond yields move inversely. What about oil? Oil has actually got over resistance. It's forging upwards. What about geopolitical risk in terms of gold prices? Gold has been making a steady wobbly path to ever increasing prices. It's coming into a level of resistance now, but it's making its way up. What about the US dollar? The US dollar is starting to try to get back up to this resistance level. It's being sold back, but the concept is there's a lot of risk off behavior. Risk on is when people just basically throw their money at anything. Risk off is when they throw their money into bonds. Many people don't realize that the global bond market is actually larger than the global stock market. When stock market funds flow into the bond market, it's because things are getting risky in the stock market, and you can see just how tiny crypto is. Basically, when risk increases in the markets, we see an increase in gold's price and an increase in the bonds. That is actually what we're seeing now. The market is showing that it's getting risky out there, but why is it getting risky? We can see economic systems around the world are being subjected to greater and greater inflation threats, and we can see the 5-year and 10-year break-even rates, inflation rates, starting to go parabolic. We can also see the gold price and silver price just climbing up the wall, and we can see Bitcoin is starting to turn around as well. At times like this, we ask what is going on. Let's have a look at the Russian market. Russian market has absolutely dived. It's been closed for quite a few days now, and this is in response to global sanctions against Russia for its invasion of Ukraine. In fact, we've seen the Russian ruble against the US dollar absolutely plummet. Its bond market, Russia's bond market, is collapsing as the yields spike. The central bank has had to raise the base rate from 9% to 20% so as to encourage the Russian people to keep their money in the banking system because they've had a run on the banks. This is all about the fact that Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine. The world basically said, Vlad, don't pass that line, don't cross that line. And Vladimir Putin went, nah, I'm going. And then what have we seen? So many sanctions, UN, EU, US. Ukraine is a resource-rich country, and it has enormous wheat and grain exports. Let's have a look at what's happening on the ground in Kiev. What we see is many Russian aerial strikes, numerous civilian buildings destroyed, and more Russian troops are pouring into the Ukraine, and Belarusian troops as well. In the Ukraine, more than 600,000 refugees have fled, and we're expecting up to 5 million refugees to flood into Europe. Russia is doing attacks all over the Ukraine, but it's not actually making much headway. Let's check what's happened to Russia today. There's been a number of business blockades. Ford has suspended joint venture operations in Russia. YouTube and Facebook have been restricting Russia state-controlled channels. BMW has halted production in Russia and exports to Russia. Dell has halted sales in Russia. Apple has stopped all product sales in Russia. Biotech leaders, 300 plus of them, are discussing halting sales in Russia. Maersk has stopped shipping to Russian ports. MasterCard blocks Russian financial institutions. JP Morgan suspends its Russian fund. This is really getting serious, and it's going to hurt the people of Russia. And that's a really important thing to understand. The people of Russia are innocent. This is Vladimir Putin's war. There are so many people inside Russia opposed to the Ukraine invasion. Going further into it, stocks and commodities. Germany halts Russian securities trading. London Stock Exchange suspends Russia's VTB Bank. TradeWeb suspends trading of Russian bonds. The New York Stock Exchange suspended some Russian stocks. Wheat prices have risen to very high 2008 levels. Gold has jumped. Oil and natural gas prices have increased, and the US and 30 countries have agreed to release 60 million barrels of oil from their strategic reserves to stabilize global energy markets. Canada has banned all Russian oil imports, and you can see the clean energy transition is being bolstered because we have a dependence on fossil fuels. And this leads to another issue that came out when the whole world shut down with COVID. Basically, everybody found out that their supply chains were dependent on China, and they sought to bring their industries home. This is another thing that's happening in this particular war, Putin's war. We've discovered that we're too dependent on certain forms of energy. From a legal and political standpoint, the US expelled 12 Russian diplomats, and all the countries throughout the world except for China and India are calling their people home. The International Criminal Court launches a probe into possible war crimes in Ukraine. The World Court will on March the 7th and 8th hear Ukraine's case, seeking to halt Moscow's military actions. The World Bank is preparing a $3 billion support package for Ukraine. The EU suspends Russian broadcasting. Monaco sanctions Russia. Zelensky is seeking EU membership for Ukraine. The Bulgarian defense minister was dismissed for refusing to call Russia's invasion a war. The Munich Philharmonic Orchestra fires its conductor for being close to Vladimir Putin, and Taiwan sends 27 tons of medical supplies to the Ukraine. A lot of people might ask, why has the world been so heavy-handed with Vladimir Putin? And the answer to that is that many global leaders believe that Vladimir Putin simply won't stop with Ukraine. He'll reach out to Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and roll through all of those countries, taking one after another, starting the Third World War, basically. So what is happening is that the world has banded together, as we've never seen before in history, to send a very big message to any country that wants to invade another country. Do so at great peril. Not only will your economic system be dismantled, but key resources will be cut off. And we're going to see more and more sanctions, more companies pulling out. A lot of people are now talking about suspected war crimes in the Ukraine. And it's interesting that the International Court of Justice in The Hague, the Netherlands, has basically said it's a United Nations body. It sent a circular, a release to the Minister for Foreign Affairs of the Russian Federation, and there's potential allegations of genocide. Around the world, we're hearing more and more reports of Russian troops targeting civilians and killing civilians. This is what is driving these suspected war crimes. So where is the International Court of Justice? It's in The Hague, in the Netherlands. And when you actually look at the International Court of Justice, it is right in the embassy area of The Hague. Australian Embassy. You can see so many embassies around this particular stretch, and the Russian Embassy up the road. If we look around the International Court of Justice, you can see so many embassies just everywhere. This is the embassy capital of Europe. You can see the embassies of Japan and France, Australia, India, so many embassies. These ambassadors live quite well. Look at these houses. Hey, we need a job change. Check out Indonesia's embassy. That looks nice. Let's flip across to the International Criminal Court, which is just down the road. We may find Vladimir Putin visiting this particular building if things go the way that things could go. Many, many miles away is Taiwan, and China is looking very conscientiously about what's happening with Ukraine in terms of what it wants to do with Taiwan. Taiwan is a very resource-rich country, and it supplies 92% of the chips that actually go into military defense systems and mobile phones, computers, you name it, they power the world. Also, Taiwan actually forms part of a string of islands that has access to the deep ocean. From a strategic perspective, if Taiwan falls into China's hands, there's nothing stopping the increasingly militarized China from launching nuclear subs into the Philippine Sea and beyond, and potentially into the North Pacific Ocean, where they could reach the US. Smart money, investors and traders, and the institutions are watching the fear levels and the bond prices, the bond yields, the gold, the oil, the DXY, and these indices very, very closely. We're seeing risk-off behavior. We're seeing also a rejection of this resistance line. We may end up coming down. Hopefully, the sanctions are so severe that people basically say, Russia, Putin, stop it, and things back down, things de-escalate, and that would be the fantastic outcome for the entire world. The charts will tell us what's happening. Always remember, price moves in waves. We can get big dumps and big increases, and big dumps and big increases. What we need to see is a consistent taking out of a resistance line. And it's incredibly interesting that the markets rallied when the peace talks failed, when Russia sent more troops in, where Putin threatened nuclear war and the US expelled Russian diplomats. We've seen a big increase in price. We have to see if it's actually sustainable. We understand that the Nasdaq is under pressure. It's under resistance. It's just retracing to its resistance line. Hopefully what we see is the resistance is overcome and turned to support. We're starting to get a bit of action on that side in Bitcoin, but we also know that there's a lot of resistance between the 45,100 mark and 47,127. Bitcoin is currently trading at 44,277. We had a similar situation with Bitcoin where we bottomed out. We did a big strong rally, and then what happened? It wavered, wobbled a bit, and came down hard, then went up hard. Now what does this mean for you? The way to sleep really well at night in the crypto market and the stock market and Forex as well is to make in advance probabilistic choices. Know exactly what you will do if price goes down, goes up, or just goes horizontal. It's also very helpful to remember that if you're searching for certainty, you won't get it in any financial market. All financial markets live and breathe from probability and uncertainty. Zone 1 and Zone 2, the panic and the blame zone, are where people lose a lot of money. They feel if they sell and price goes up, they've done something incredibly wrong. That is not the case. That's never the case. It depends what the probabilities are around. And sometimes you'll find that you may exit early. And that's okay, because if the return is something that you like and you are comfortable with, when you actually sell, that's all that matters. What it does from that point onwards, goes up or down, is immaterial. And that's why we have Zone 3, the patience and rule zone. This is based on probability and rules, and also a deep understanding of positive excellence. We very much focus on this three-way decision making. We know when percentages go down, they come up. When they retrace, they come up much more. For example, if you buy at 10 and it goes down to 5, that's a loss of 50%. But if it goes from 5 back up to 10, you just made 100%. So buying at levels lower, knowing the price is always moving in a wave, is what we do. But that takes patience, and sometimes the markets can take months to turn around. We know that opportunities reset every day, and if you would like to look at episode 442, how markets react to war and smart money secrets they don't want you to know, we actually go through and analyze all the wars and look at it from a historical perspective. Even the Great Depression, there are so many opportunities, and of course it's easy if the price is going up, but just to be aware of how things can play out is forearmed and forewarned. I put this out yesterday. The concept is Crimea and Donbass regions have been undergoing conflict for 8 years, over 8 years, and the world didn't mobilize itself like what is actually happening with the Russian invasion of Ukraine, which has only been going on now for 6 days. Just keep this in mind. There's a completely different way that the globe has responded to what is the unlawful invasion of a sovereign nation. They're sending a very, very clear message. If you want to invade another nation, you're going to pay very, very dearly. And it's also really important to separate the actions of one person from the people that that person is supposed to represent. Sometimes politicians don't represent their people at all, and leaders don't represent their people. What you had is the head of Russia's delegation at a major UN climate summit just apologize and say, I don't see any justification for Putin invading Ukraine. And many, many Russian people feel exactly the same. Please bear this in mind. Russian people are not the enemy in any way, shape or form. We do want peace throughout the world. Sometimes the world has to collect together to be heavy-handed and actually show a boundary. Long term, this will be really good for global peace, with strong boundaries in place to understand that actions lead to consequences. We can have more peace in this world, and that's definitely what we want. I'd like to give you a quote from Mahatma Gandhi, which I think is just a beautiful quote. The day that the power of love overrules the love of power, the world will know peace. I'm looking forward to that day, as I'm sure many, many people are. The key in life is emotional mastery and knowledge. We know that the markets are throwing signs. We know that very major indices are just rejecting at resistance right now, increasing fear, flight to safety, flight to safety, flight to safety, flight to safety, rampant inflation. In cases like this, what we do is that if you have anything in profit and you want to get some dry powder to buy dips, because we're always in the market, we're not exiting the market. The concept is we can just prepare ourselves like what smart money is doing at the moment. And things could change around. If they change around, that's fantastic. That's what we all want. We want stability. But being sensible is always a good idea. When you stack probabilities, you take actions which other people may not understand. And the markets don't just tank tomorrow. It's not like that. Things take time to play out. And ultimately, you are the only one who knows how your position, your risk tolerance, everything related to your financial position. All we do from a scientific approach is to understand what is actually going on, and then you just make your strategy on how you want to deal with things. We don't light switch, we don't go all in or all out. We do everything like a dimmer. We just come on slowly and go out slowly. But the concept is just do whatever is best for you. Please let me know what you think about where the markets could be heading based on this information. Later on, I'll bring out a crypto-specific video. Always remember, opportunities reset daily, and markets going down is not a problem. It's just buying at the right level. If you buy at the right level and you sell for a reasonable profit, you'll keep on doing really, really well. We're not concerned about markets going up or going down. We're only concerned with understanding and stacking probabilities that actually push trades inside our favor. And all investors become traders anytime they buy or sell. I hope you found the content useful. Please consider sharing and liking this video and subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. We'll keep a really close eye on developments and see what is happening. Things will become clear over time. If you would like daily updates on price movements in the crypto and the stock market and news and a whole lot of other things 7 days a week, 365 days a year, please subscribe to YouTube. Please remember, crypto and investing and trading is volatile. Always prepare yourself for the best and worst case scenario. Reality will likely be between them. Stay safe out there, my friends. Take care and see you next time. Bye for now.